You could be anywhere doing anything, but you're hanging out with us. We appreciate that. So wherever you're listening and however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Alex Goodwin is my name. You can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in Tangeray, S as in smart, like Marcus Smart, M as in mother. Kennedy Miller.
What's up, man?
Where can the folks find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm so excited. I won't even do the names. You can find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
All right. We also have friend of the show family, even our good friend, Lamar Gafford, TownTalk.com. Lamar, thank you for hanging out once again. How you doing today, my man?
Man, I'm good. How about y'all?
I'm doing pretty good. Glad to be here with you guys on our YouTube live stream. Everybody that is watching us live on the Game Plan Podcast YouTube channel, we appreciate it. Leave your questions, leave your comments. You never know, we might just answer your question or address your comment live here on the show. So getting into game number 3, Boston takes it 116-100. Jaylen Brown had 27 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds. Jason Tatum, 26, 9, and 6. Steph Curry led all scorers with 31 points, going 6 for 11 from the three-point line. So, Kennedy, I'll start with you. What is your biggest takeaway from game number 3?
Shout out to the Celtics because even though they were winning for majority of this game, I thought that a lot of times, especially in the second and third quarter, they were, playing with a recipe to lose. And, the commentators touched on it a lot. You can't have Steph come off these screens and have Al Horford drop so low or Robert Williams drop so low. It just gives him a wide open opportunity to knock down a shot. And especially once he gets into a rhythm, then he's very tough to guard. And then when you choose to step up, you foul him and you end up having a 7-point possession that makes it a 2-point game. And so I thought Marcus Smart had some really bad turnovers during that stretch. He had 5 turnovers tonight. I thought he had some really questionable decision-making plays. But I thought that, their guys stepped up. I thought Jason Tatum stepped up. I thought Jaylen Brown stepped up. And we kind of touched on this before, but I think Marcus Smart had 24, 25 points in game 1.
Right.
And Al Horford had 26. And then they both end up with 2. Well, then this game, you have 24 points tonight from Marcus Smart. So you get a really good contribution from your entire starting 5. Al Horford didn't have 2, but he had 11 points. And then I want to say Robert Williams had 11 points, right? 11 and 9 and 4 blocks. And so you talk about somebody man in that middle. Their starting 5 played extremely well. Derek White, even though he didn't shoot the ball well, he really, I thought, did a pretty good job of guarding Steph Curry. And, as far as on the Warrior side of things, Steph played well. You could hang your hat on Clay getting out of his slump. Draymond Green has got to play better. Very high basketball IQ, but there are times where, what are you bringing to the table? And I think that he gets away with, too much criticism to the refs. I think that, he's got to get a tech. He's got to get something. But, you can't allow people like Rasheed Wallace, who's gotten technicals for literally looking at a ref, Tim Duncan for laughing on the bench. But this guy berates a ref every other call, and he gets away with it. So I just think that that's a little uncalled for. But he can't only have 2 points. Jordan Poole, I think has been a little spotty. He's got to play a little better. But I was just impressed with the Celtics, keeping home court for right now. And we'll see how game 4 is, because that's going to be a really big game.
I'll say this about Draymond Green. Draymond Green is like that kid in school, or even, I'll say it, my little nephew. I love my nephew to death, right? But he's 2, terrible 2s, right? And at this point, they're learning, they're growing, and they're trying to see how much they can get away with, right? He's like, I can see him testing my brother and his mom about how much he can try to get away with and how much he can kind of finagle his way out of with cuteness. The problem with Draymond Green is he ain't cute, right? And all you get from Draymond Green is yelling and cussing. And I think what the refs are trying to do, they're trying not to throw out one of the most important pieces of the Golden State Warriors,
for sure.
In the finals, right? Like I don't think anybody wants a repeat of what happened in 2016 where Draymond was suspended for that game 5, I believe.
Yes.
When Golden State lost that 3-1 to LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love. I don't think they want that to happen. So you want to kind of try to swallow your whistles. And we saw them do that even in game number 2 when Draymond Green and Jaylen Brown had a little dust up about, something silly. They didn't call any technicals because they're like, we want to let this game be decided on the floor. But at a certain point, you do have to rein Draymond Green in just a little bit. You can't just let him run roughshod over the officials. Lamar, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. And there were a couple of times in that game where I'm just like, and I as a fan of basketball, I really hate when the officials call quick technical fouls and all that, because I just think that you got to let the player play with a little bit of emotion there. But like you said, he was getting away with a lot of stuff. I mean, especially in the fourth quarter where it looked like that there were a couple of times where he was really getting at the referees. And I'm like, yo, aren't y'all going to call this technical foul or something on him? Because y'all normally let other players get by with less before you tee them up. And so I guess it's kind of like what I said after game 2. He knows that the referees are kind of giving him a little bit of a rope here. So either he's going to keep on getting at them, or he's going to try to pester somebody else just to bait them to also get thrown out of the ball game as well, because just to kind of help out his team out there. And oh, by the way, I did see something earlier today where Draymond had a very good stat line that only Draymond could love: 2 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 1 block, and 6 fouls.
I mean, that's crazy. And my thing is, with the complaints to the officials, it'd be one thing, like maybe if he's getting like singled out or like questionable calls. Like, these are obvious fouls. And it's a lot that you get away with. It was just a clip that literally just came up on social media when he and Tatum were at the free throw line, and I saw the end of it. I didn't see the beginning, but he literally wraps his arm around kind of like his shoulder area and just throws him out the way. Like, that, by law, is a foul. And again, I know he does the podcast, and I think he's a better analyst than he is player. Like, I think I enjoy listening to his podcast. I enjoy hearing his perspective on the game and what he thinks. But, like, you can't have 2 points, bro. Like, you can't. You're a very important piece to the team, but you can't have 2 points. It's just it's not acceptable.
All right. So one of our listeners mentioned it, and I actually had this written down. So Robert Williams, given that he's only playing limited minutes because of his knee injury, how is he having such a big impact on the game on the defensive end of the floor, Kennedy?
Well, he's the only rim protector on both sides of both teams. He's the only rim protector out there. And I said he had 11 points earlier. He had 8 and 10. But he's a rim protector elite. He's getting in that status basically based on his play in the finals. That floater that Steph had, it's been very few times I've seen that blocked. And they tried to argue that was goaltending, but he literally got it at its highest point. He took it out the air. He had 4 blocks. We mentioned that earlier, but he's a rim protector. He's a lob threat for that Celtics offense. So when you try and overload on Tatum and Brown and trying to contain those drives, he's always in that dunker spot where, he can always drop step and dunk it. You can throw a lob to him. And so they can kind of play big with having him and Al Horford in at the same time. And like I said, Golden State doesn't have that guy on the other side. Like, Draymond Green is I think a phenomenal defensive player, but he's not a rim protector. Kevon Looney, knows how to play the game, but he's not a rim protector. He's got bad hips. And after that, you don't have a big, Bielitsa, he's going to stay on the perimeter. And Otto Porter and Iguodala are not big enough to play down there. So he has to make this type of impact for them to win a championship. He has to be that. I'm still I don't understand why they spend a lot of possessions to start the game with him guarding Andrew Wiggins. But I'm just going to chalk it up to Ime Udoka knowing more basketball than me. Like, I just feel like there's something there. I want to ask him. I feel like he just knows more basketball than me, because first-year head coach in the finals, up 2-1 on the Warriors. You clearly are doing something right, so I'm not asking any questions.
And he bagged Nia Long. We can't forget that.
Oh,
That has to be almost first thing on his record. Number one.
This is his side job. That's his number one profession. You got Nia Long. But I do think they're going to have to make some adjustments. With that being said, them being up 2-1, they're going to have to start guarding Steph Curry differently from the start of the game. Like Draymond had 2 points. Okay, Draymond, we want you to get 15. We want you to get 20. Okay, we're going to show on that screen every time. And Steph is going to dump it, and Draymond's going to play 4-on-3, and you guys make the right rotation. And we're not helping off Klay. So Draymond and Looney, y'all going to have to get 15 to 20 apiece. And you're going to have to beat us. But we're not going to let Steph just come off the screen and walk into that. He practices that too much. Like, I feel like that's unacceptable.
Lamar?
Yeah, I mean, much like what Kennedy said here, just having Robert Williams out there, shout out once again, 318 over everybody. Once again, had to go ahead and say that I got a chance to see him play when he was in high school, and he was incredible then, and he's incredible now. But him stepping up on the defensive end has been amazing, especially in Game 3. 3 steals, 4 blocks. That really was the one thing that the Celtics really needed out there, and he's able to punish inside that the Warriors don't have. They don't have that inside threat, so he's able to really punish inside them because Kevon Looney is going to have sometimes an offensive game. He'll have an offensive game every now and then or something like that, but clearly I think that Robert Williams is the better player between those two, especially with the defense that they have there. So seeing him out also step up, also seeing Marcus Smart really step up offensively and scoring 24 points. That was also a big boost for them. And finally getting the chance to see Jaylen Brown but be a little bit more efficient with him being at home. Those 3 things really helped out the Celtics and put them as the winners of this game.
I think in terms of Robert Williams' impact, I think so much of it depends on Golden State and what they don't have, right? Like not having a big, like a true blue big. Kevon Looney I feel like Kevon Looney is a good player, but I think coming into this series, I was like, Robert Williams should be able to get the better of that matchup if and when they're on the floor at the same time. And if Kevon Looney is off the floor, having Draymond Green play small ball 5, that can work in stretches. But even during the Warriors' peak, like that 73-9 team, when they had Durant, they only went with that death lineup in small little spurts. Like you can't continually play with Draymond Green at the 5. And with the Warriors, I think they're trying to get Robert Williams out of the paint. So they're going with these smaller lineups, right? But then what that's hurting them defensively is that you're having a lineup with Steph, Klay, Jordan Poole, sometimes maybe Gary Payton, Draymond Green, and Kevon Looney, right? Like Klay Thompson, after the Achilles and the knee, he's not the defender he used to be. Steph Curry was never a great individual defender. He's a good team defender, and Jordan Poole gets buckets, and that's what he does. He's not known for being a great defensive player, right? So that's hurting them. Like them trying to exploit Robert Williams on the offensive end is hurting them on the other end of the floor. Am I making any sense with that?
No, for sure. And I would consider myself lucky if I was Golden State because, you could have faced way worse than Robert Williams had some of the odds, not been stacked in the Celtics' favor. Not saying that they didn't do anything to deserve it, but you could have been going up against Giannis for 7 games. And look what he was doing against this elite defense. You could have been going up against Joel Embiid had they not got hurt. And you definitely didn't have the size for that. So, count your lucky blessings that you just have to go up against Robert Williams and Al Horford. Because Giannis and Bobby Portis, I think, would have had a field day against this group.
Absolutely. So after Klay Thompson having a rough game 2, shooting 4 for 19, he rebounded tonight in a big way for the Golden State Warriors. So was this a matter of Klay making shots tonight that he missed in game number 2, or did Steve Kerr and the Warriors staff do a little bit more to get him involved and get him easy shots?
Well, I think he got some easy looks off of offensive rebounds. I think he got 2 threes off of offensive rebounds. But I mean, I also think it's just missing shots. I feel like, people try and make too much about it when some of these guys go into slumps, especially those elite guys that are some of the best shooters ever. And when they go into slumps, I mean, it's just what it is. It's a slump. And all they got to do is see a couple go in, and it changes the course of how they, play the rest of the game. But those guys, they don't have a conscience. And, they can miss their first 8 and then make their next 7. So I just think it was a matter of him missing some shots. I remember game 2, he missed a couple of layups that, he usually makes. And so I knew he was going to get a rhythm at some point. But can you withstand it? And tonight they did.
Lamar?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the same thing, because it's just, I think the first 2 games he wasn't in that rhythm, and at least in this game he was in a little bit more of a rhythm. And as we kind of have seen before with Klay Thompson, the deeper a series goes, he gets in more of a rhythm. Especially, I mean, they call him Game 6 Klay for a reason. I mean, because but yeah, I mean, so it's just about seeing some go in. He saw some go in the night, so that might really help him out as we go a little bit further into the series there. So, that's it.
Do you guys feel the same way about the way Jason Tatum played tonight? He had 26 points, but he was 9 of 23 from the field. So did Golden State do anything defensively there, or was this another case of just great player missing makeable shots?
Well, he takes tough shots, number one. He does take tough shots. And my thing with Jason Tatum is, like, he's getting to the rim, but why are you not dunking the ball? I guess it was like 3 or 4 just like layups that you're missing. It's like, why don't you try and dunk it? Because again, it's only one rim protector on the floor, and he's on your team. So try and dunk on Draymond. Try and dunk on Wiggins. Try and dunk on Looney. They're probably going to foul you. Okay, and you're at home now, so you're probably going to get those calls. But he takes tough shots for one. Andrew Wiggins is showing that he's a very good defender. He's shown that for the past year and a half since he basically came to Golden State. And he's doing a good job of really, in this league where everybody just is very quick to switch on screens, he's actually trying to fight over. He's trying to stay with Jason Tatum and make him take tough shots, because Tatum is going to take them. And so the knock on his career early was, yeah, this guy is skilled or whatever, but he's going to really settle for mid-range shots. He doesn't get to the free throw line a lot, and he really just likes to settle. But again, he shot 6 free throws tonight. He shot 23 shots, 6 free throws. And again, I feel like if you actually went up to try and dunk those 3 or 4 layups, you would have went to the free throw line more. And so that would help your percentage, and it would help your efficiency, because it wouldn't be those 4 extra misses. So now you're 9 and 19, which isn't as bad.
So I'm looking at the post-game box score, and I'm seeing that Boston had 52 points in the paint to Golden State's 26. And in terms of rebounding, Boston out-rebounded Golden State 47-31. Boston had an advantage on the offensive boards, 15-6. And watching Golden State's defense tonight, they weren't moving their feet very well. Like, there was a handful of possessions. Marcus Smart just got by Otto Porter, got by Andrew Wiggins. Guys aren't moving their feet. And I think also, in terms of points in the paint, this goes back to rim protection, right? Not having the rim protection. And my next thought is, if they don't have a rim protector, what adjustment is there? And has Steve Kerr already made that adjustment, going really small? Right. And that didn't work tonight, because they just countered with Williams and Horford, and we're just going to brutalize you in the paint. So if that doesn't work, is Steve Kerr just stuck out here going 5 smalls, or is he going to have to play Kevon Looney and Draymond Green together? Or, I'm not quite sure what adjustment after this one there is to make.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's pretty much stuck. I mean, unless he has a magic elixir to try to get James Wiseman back on the court and healthy at the same time, I think they're stuck. I mean, because there's only so much they can do at this point, and the guys that they have on the bench, like you just mentioned, aren't really the rim protectors or an inside player that they can stop those bigs like Horford or Grant Williams or even Robert Williams. So it's going to be a little tough there. Just for in order for them to try to stop them inside. So he's going to have to find some ways here. He's going to have to find some ways, I guess.
I think you got to do a little bit of, you just got to keep doing what you're doing. Either you got to keep playing, either going small. Well, I don't want to say either. I want to say you got to go small and you have to play big and just see how both lineups are working at that point in time. But I said it at the beginning of the playoffs. I'm not completely writing them off yet. I picked the Celtics to win, but I'm not just saying that this series is over. But I said it at the beginning of the playoffs that I felt like it was arrogance on the Warriors' part not to go after a big. Just to stand pat with their team and just be like, oh, this is good. Because look at the outlook of the contenders. Everybody had somebody that was a paint presence. Even Memphis, you had a guy, John Morant, who's a point guard, who's second in the league in points in the paint. And you're telling me that Draymond Green is your best option to stop him? Now, they got away from not playing Phoenix because Phoenix folded against Dallas. So Dallas didn't have a rim protector. But again, we're talking about teams in the East, Philly, Milwaukee, Boston now. And then, Brooklyn, got Kyrie and KD, even though they folded too. But I think
we ain't got to talk about World B Flat tonight. We ain't got to talk about World B Flat. Okay. Let's leave Kyrie at home. He is at home, busy on Dr. Umar Johnson's summer reading list. Okay.
I think the difference of this Golden State team from the elite team that won those championships, especially with Kevin Durant. Number one, you substitute Kevin Durant, and you've got Jordan Poole, who's 8 inches shorter of the production you're asking Kevin Durant to give. Secondly, when you were able to go small back then, you were able to do it with another guy in Andre Iguodala, who was an elite defender. So I'm going small, but I'm going small with 3 elite defenders that can all switch, right? Klay Thompson, 6'7", Andre Iguodala, 6'8", Draymond Green is 6'6", 6'7". So majority of the lineup that I have are guys that I feel comfortable in this league guarding basically 1 through 5. So with Iguodala not being what he used to be, with Klay Thompson not really being what he used to be on the defensive end, still solid, but not really being what he used to be, you're asking Draymond Green to really man a small 5-man unit that, what you pointed out, Steph is not a great individual defender. Jordan Poole is not really a great defender. Andrew Wiggins is good. He's not Iguodala type level. So you put yourself at a disadvantage. And then on the other end, if you're playing big, then you got Looney and Draymond Green, and Boston's defense is number 1 for a reason. So, I mean, they're really begging those guys. They're begging you to have 2 of those guys on the floor at the same time because it makes them easier to guard Steph and Klay.
I was also thinking, does Golden State try to go to a zone more often? And if they do, I think Boston has the shooters with Tatum, with Brown, with Marcus Smart's 3-point shot is a bit inconsistent, but I think they have enough guys. They might be able to shoot him out of the zone as well.
Yeah, I think that it's a make or miss league. In the zone, everybody now has kind of seen the zone. They know what to expect. They know that Golden State, especially in the finals, right? Everybody's got their scouts, and they know that Golden State is going to do like a 1-2-2, 3-2 zone, and really kind of press you to throw it to the corner and then, force it out of there. But it's really, are we going to generate a good shot? Probably. Is it going to go in? We'll see. And we know if it goes in at least 2 or 3 times, you're going to get out of it. So, it's different things that you can do to it, but I would just say I wouldn't give them a steady dose of everything. Like, I wouldn't just say, okay, we just going small because we can't handle, or we just going big to combat it. because you got to put your snipers on the floor, but you have to also, you can't get out rebounded and have more turnovers, and Boston shoots better from the field.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to go to some of our fan questions here. So, question number 1 from my man Matt: how serious do you think Steph Curry's leg injury is? Lamar, I'll start with you.
Yeah, that was going to be a little bit tough there. I did see a tweet from Mark Spears that that Steve Kerr says that they will know more about it in tomorrow, just to kind of see what his status is going to be. But looked like he was able to kind of finish out a little bit of the game before they took him out for good. Hopefully he'll be okay. But if not, that's going to be another issue here for the Warriors there, because of course we know that we know that Steph has been having some injuries. Of course, had that injury before the start of the playoffs. So hopefully he'll be able to go. At least I don't think right now, I don't see it as a issue if he's going to be able to, but I can imagine he'd probably be a little bit less than 100% there.
Ken?
I don't like to prescribe injuries. I don't think it was that bad. Like, he fell on it, so of course it was probably some pain, because Al Horford is not a small man. He's like 6'10". But usually in those you would kind of see the ankle turn, and I feel like I didn't see the ankle really tweak or turn or twist. So I think it's obviously going to be some discomfort, but I think if you ask Steph Curry if he plans on playing Friday, is that when they play Friday, I believe? Yep. If you ask him if he's going to play Friday, I'm pretty sure he's going to say 100%. So I think he's okay.
I think we're at the point of the season where the only way you're not going to play is if you physically cannot. Like, to where you physically cannot get up and down the court. Like last postseason, we saw James Harden with that hamstring injury, and we saw him laboring up and down. Like, he had essentially one leg. Right. But it was like, all right, as long as I can move and move well enough to be out there, I'm going to be out there. Now, the question becomes, do you become a detriment to your team with you being out there? Right. Or do you kind of serve as a decoy the way Scottie Pippen did in that game 6 in 98 when he had that bad back? Right. And I think with Steph, this is a part of a longer. Like, Steph, throughout his entire career, he's had issues with his lower extremities. Early in his career, before the Warriors run really, really took off, it was those ankles. In 2016, at the end, in that they're running the finals, he couldn't dribble past Kevin Love, the biggest moment of his life, because his knees and his ankles were that worn down. Earlier this year, issues with his feet, right? So we're talking about a guy who has a history of lower extremity injuries. Could it be nothing? Maybe so. Right. But given his history, this might be something we really need to look out for, and might seriously have an impact on who wins this series. So
I think you hit it on the head, Alex, real quick. Nobody's healthy at this point. You played almost 100 games. You played almost 16 more than everybody else in the regular season. How many people have we seen on the injury report, that's questionable just in the finals? Robert Williams might be in, he might be out. Marcus Smart might be in, might be out. Iguodala has been out, he was in. Gary Payton was out, now he's in. So it's just nobody's 100%, and you got some nicks and bruises, and it's one of those things where, like you said, if you're not dead or you just physically can't go, most of those guys are going to play. And because they know that, especially in Steph Curry's case, he comes out and have, 45 next game. That's going to be a Steph Curry legacy game. That's going to be the game that everybody's been waiting on him to have. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's going to play.
All right, moving on to our next question from Jasmine. Could Brad Stevens have coached this team to the finals? I'll take this one first. No. I think that is the big reason Brad Stevens is no longer the coach, and he's up in one of those luxury suites. I think what happened with the Celtics is that he realized, and credit to him for realizing this and having the humility to step aside. I think he realized they need another voice, in that he's taken this team as far as he could take them. I think it was something similar. Like, sometimes you see something similar with, I think about it with Golden State and Mark Jackson got them to a certain point, and they needed another coach to unlock a little bit more for them to reach their full potential. So, and I think they clearly got the right coach that they needed, right? So, I don't think Brad Stevens could have coached this team to the finals. I think if Brad Stevens was still on the sideline, they probably lose in the second round. Just my 2 cents.
I think depending on, no, I don't think he could. I tried.
Come on, give us the depending on. Come on.
I mean, depending on the circumstances, like things got to go right. Like a Miami Heat type, in the bubble, like everything kind of fell in their favor that year. If it falls in the favor, might, because I don't think he was a bad coach. I think he was a really good coach. I think when he was coaching, he was a top 10 coach. My thing with Brad Stevens is this, though. I think Brad Stevens is a coach that gets more out of less. But when he's got the expectations, and I don't want to say he folds, but when he's actually got the talent, he doesn't know how to coach superstars. You know what I mean? His best teams were those teams that, Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder, and, they kind of just played harder than everyone. And he runs some great stuff. He runs some great offensive sets. They had a really good defense. But when he actually got the purebreds, the Tatum, the Brown, Kyrie, they were underachieving. And so I think he's a guy, even, look at Butler. He gets more out of teams with lesser talent. But I did not ever see that he actually took a team that actually had the expectations as far as they needed to go. Because I felt like that 2019 Celtics team, I felt like the team was going to be
the one that's the last year Kyrie was there, right?
Right. Okay, because Kyrie and Hayward were hurt 2018. So 19, Kyrie, Hayward are back. Tatum, Brown, Horford. I felt like that was my prediction of Celtics Warriors back then. And they got gentlemen swept by Milwaukee. And so, I don't think he could have taken this team to the finals.
Lamar?
Yeah, same. I mean, and that point where you said he got the most out of, he always gets the most out of less. I mean, that really was poignant right there because, we seen him do that with Butler, getting them to not one, but 2 championship games. I mean, school like Butler just to get there, just for him to do that, that's kind of amazing. And for him to get the 2018 Celtics, with, as you said, Mr. Hotep himself, sitting on the bench, and also, having Gordon Hayward missing all but the first game there, and for able to get them to the Eastern Conference Finals in a Game 7. He's a good coach for that. But when you have a lot of the superstars there, I don't think he's a great coach for that, if that makes any sense. Like he said, of 2019, them missing, losing in the second round. And shoot, even last year, them losing in the first round to a very good Brooklyn team there. Credit to him for realizing here, I need to step down. I can still have a little bit of a role being an executive right there and getting Ime out there for that. Just credit for that. I still think he's a good coach. If he really wants to go back out there and try to go with a rebuilding team, and try to get them up there, I think he could try to do something like that. But of a championship caliber team that has more than one superstar, or not the low spades is what Bomani would say, I don't think he's a great coach for that.
That definitely makes sense. So, predictions for game number 4. Kennedy, what do you have?
That's tough. That is really tough. I'm gonna say Celtics win.
Oh man,
I'm gonna say Celtics go 3-1 because I don't see them winning. I don't see either team winning 2 straight. So I think that, besides this, so I think that the Celtics win. They're up 3-1. Golden State goes back home, wins 3-2, and then the Celtics close it out on the home floor for it. in 6, which was my prediction at the start. So I'm just gonna stick with that. I think it's gonna be a very close game. I think I might have jinxed it. I think Steph might actually go on a binge next game and just go crazy, especially if they don't change up how they're guarding him. But I think the Celtics find a way to withstand that. So
I'm gonna go with the Warriors. I think the Warriors are gonna get this next one, and mainly this is kind of a lot like game number 2, where you just knew coming out Golden State was not gonna go down 0-2.
Yep.
Heading to Boston, right? I feel like this is the same sort of situation. They're not going down 3-1 and then having to win 3 straight.
Yep.
So I think they're going to come out. This is when that championship DNA, that experience comes in. And we look, hell, they almost won tonight.
Oh yeah,
they almost got it tonight. Brown, Tatum, Smart make some big shots. They got some big stops at the end of the ball game, and they pushed that lead out. But going into the fourth quarter, I'm like, Golden State might pull this one out. Another great Golden State third quarter. I'm going to go Golden State. Game number 4. They're going to tie this thing up 2-2. Lamar?
I'll go with Boston. I think it's going to be close. I mean, finally, one close game that we probably would have in this series. But Boston has to start playing much better in the third quarter. They have to start playing much better in the third quarter. You cannot let this team get right back in the ball game. They played with fire in game 1, was able to get the win there. Played with fire in game 3, was able to get the win there. You cannot let that happen all the way through. But I think what's going to help Boston here in this case is they got the crowd behind them. The crowd was electric tonight, and I think that's going to really help them out and taking game 4.
Most definitely. We have another fan question. Thoughts on Paul Pierce looking crazy on the sidelines? Man, did he have those sunglasses on the whole game?
No, I was able to see his eyes.
Oh, he took, because the moment I saw him with those sunglasses on, I thought about that Michael Jordan interview he did with Ahmad Rashad. He's like, no, I don't have a gambling problem. And he has those big old dark sunglasses on, looking like he's high as a Georgia pine.
I thought about when he went on Instagram Live.
Yeah, with the stripping naked dancers. Yes.
I like Maya's response. He has looked crazy ever since he got out the league. Like I think Paul is one of those guys that just he's really resentful of. I guess he feels like he didn't get enough credit in the league. It's like, Paul, you're really good. You're a Hall of Famer, but you can't just go out and saying these outlandish things just to get like cred now or just to stay relevant. Like, bro, just ride off into the sunset.
Can we get him back on Instagram Live doing his best little Boosie impersonation? Can we,
ESPN cut ties with that man quickly.
Expeditiously.
But they still show him on TV?
Somebody, in the truck is probably furious. Like, get him off the screen. Take the camera off him. There probably is someone in the truck that is just like, yo, put the camera on Paul Pierce.
Right.
Go to 3. Go to 3 now. Go to 3. But yeah, man, look, let's just hope if the Celtics win, Paul Pierce is gonna celebrate like he won.
Oh, he's gonna try and be with them.
Just know, if the Celtics win, Paul Pierce is gonna put somebody's child through nursing school at the Blue Flame that night. Somebody getting their college paid for from the Paul Pierce Memorial Scholarship Fund.
Don't let it be in Boston either. Don't let the game winner be in Boston.
Y'all, it's gonna be wild. But we got to leave it right there because we are out of time here on the Game Plan Podcast post-game show. We appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with us. Kennedy Miller.
Yes, sir.
Where can the folks find you on Twitter?
Find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
Lamar Gafford, where can they find you and where can they find all of the great work you're doing?
All right. You can find me on Twitter at Lamar Gafford. That's all in one word. You can also find my articles at thetowntalk.com. We have a lot of good stuff here about the high school football season coming up. So a lot of good things here. So keep on the lookout for that.
All right. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in Tangeray, S as in Sangria, M as in Margaritas. Don't forget to follow the Game Plan Podcast Instagram and YouTube channel. Don't forget to tap into that, like, subscribe, share, do all of that for us. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, we appreciate you guys so very much for listening. For Lamar Gafford and Kennedy Miller, my name is Alex Goodwin. This has been the Game Plan Podcast. We will see you guys next time.